about the things.
Thanks for tuning in to Corner Cafe on this beautiful day. I'm your host, Rachel Maines, and today I have two guests who are definitely making a positive influence in their sphere. I've got the Humanity Against Tyranny podcast host, PK Steinmark-Stevinson, and her producer, Ryan Schuiling, in studio with me. Thank you so much, Ryan and PK, for joining us on the Corner Cafe. It's great to have you in studio.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, you both interviewed me, and it was such an honor. And we met Ryan via Facebook, I guess.
Correct.
We were just mutual friends, and we're like, hey, we both work in radio. Let's get together. Let's share our stories.
Absolutely. All part of the networking process. And I just noticed, how many layers there were to what you do. And it fascinating me as a story to tell. And little did I know when you came on the podcast with PK and on my radio program that there are a lot of kind of nuances to what drew you into radio and what put you where you are right now. So here I am interviewing you again.
Yes, it's great to have. Now I can find out, how you guys got started and all those nuances as well. Starting with Ryan, how did you get started in radio?
Wow, it goes back about 35 years now.
No, you don't look that old. How is that possible?
Thank you for that. But entered college in 1994 and kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do because I played baseball through junior college. But one of my coaches said you'd probably have more luck getting a job talking about baseball than playing it. And that was true. And ended up pursuing a broadcast and cinematic arts degree in the field at Central Michigan University, where I had a lot of hands-on experience doing play-by-play for various sports, and then on-air anchoring, doing sports updates, doing television anchoring, and that sort of thing. So that kind of launched me into it, and I was lucky to land right on my feet. Basically coming straight out of college, I worked for a TV station in Traverse City, Cadillac called TV 9 and 10, and I ran their live truck for their late night news at 11 p.m. And then I got a call through my connections at Central Michigan, kind of like Facebook connected me to you. CMU connected me to this radio station in Grand Rapids, which is the second biggest city in Michigan. And at age 24, I had my own afternoon drive sports talk show. So from there, I kind of dabbled in sports, dabbled in media relations, and long story short, get to the end of it, I ended up here in Denver, where I've been for the last 7 years, working at 630 KHOW locally here as part of iHeart.
Wow, you have a lot of experience, and we have that news in common as well.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get connected to PK?
That's a fun story. I'll let her tell most of it, but we did have a common denominator and a catalyst, and her name is Mindy Scott.
Yeah, Mindy Deborah Scott. She's a mutual friend, and she asked me to go to lunch with her because she was going to have lunch with Ryan, and they were going to talk about Southwest Airlines, something she didn't like about them. And then I went to lunch, and we talked about it, and then we were jabbering back and forth, and he talked about podcasting and different things. And then about a year later, we got a call. He goes, let's go to lunch again. And he said, you want to still do that podcast? We said, we'll do whatever you want. I'm game. But, we just kind of, it fell in our lap, really.
Right.
It's kind of a God thing.
God moves like that. I was just going to say, he just moves like that. He surprises us with things. And it's not that we don't work hard, but there's a flow to it, and doors open, and there's an ease to it. Would you say that's correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So PK, give us a little background and how you got started in media.
Well, in media, in the late 60s, early 70s, I did a lot of commercials for like Kim Radio, all of that kind of thing. And then Art Scott, Mindy's husband, put me into the disc jockey business when Glendale was the hoppin' disco area. So I disc jockeyed for Jack Hogan at the London House, Bogart's, Nantucket. And then later on, I did work for the Lift, and I did work for Delano's. So it was mostly club disc jockeying. But then, other than the ads, and then I've done a lot of public speaking at times for different groups.
Okay, do you guys have a talent agent? Because if not, I'm going to try to recruit you for my talent agency, which is Big Fish Talent. So I both highly recommend you guys to do Big Fish. So it's a local Denver talent agency, and you can get commercial gigs, on-air gigs, print gigs. So both of you please sign up for Big Fish. I should get commission for them because I've sent a lot of people their way. But you guys are very gifted, and I do think that God has gifted you for this, and you are a blessing, and I think that you should, keep on expanding. So as you look at your career, starting with Ryan, what do you foresee in the next 5 years? Where you want to be?
Oh, wow. What a question. It's always been a goal of mine long term, and I think the end destination for me would be the play-by-play voice of a Major League Baseball team, which we happen to have right here in Denver. But we got 2 great announcers on KOA, our sister station. And I'm just kind of open to opportunities. Definitely a free agent along the lines of what you're describing for Big Fish there. But, for me, I've just kind of gone where it felt right. And the guiding light for me, tying in the God part of this whole thing, was I was finishing a cross-country race my senior year of high school. And one of my teammates, her dad, was a local minister at an evangelical church. And I was doing some of the public address announcing for the local high school sports there in Grass Lake, Michigan, and was thinking about it as a career. And he came up to me after a race, and I thought he was going to congratulate me on the race. It was the best race I ever ran. I was like 18 minutes for 5K. I was pretty proud of that. And instead, he comes up, Ryan, I got to tell you, that voice of yours, God gave you a gift.
Yeah.
And he intends for you to use it. And I'm telling you, I tell this story to you, I get chills just thinking about it, in that, he said that to me with conviction.
Right.
And who was I to doubt him at that point? So it's something that's always been in the back of my mind, kind of fueling every decision that I've made, and whether I should stick with something or whether I should change lanes a little bit. So long answer to your short question. It's wherever the opportunity presents itself where I feel that I'm meant to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so true, Ryan. You have a great voice.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And PK,
yes,
the same question. 5 years from now, where do you hope that you are, or what are your aspirations?
5 years from now, I'll be wherever God puts me.
I love that.
I go each day, a day at a time.
Just like he says in the Word,
Mm-hmm.
this the daily bread.
Yes.
So let's start with your testimony, if you will. Testimonies can be very long, but how did you come to know the Lord? Going back again to Ryan, how did that happen? How did your relationship with him get started?
Well, it was really something I was left to my own devices a little bit on my own. I was not raised in the church, but my mom had an idea that she wanted me to be exposed to the church. So I would go to vacation Bible school in the summers in my youth. I was part of Awana youth group that was Christian. And I just always felt welcome and comforted and at home in the church. And this was the People's Church in Pinckney, Michigan. And it gave me a feeling unlike anything I had outside of that, whether it was secular affirmation through a job or even with friends of mine, that there was something bigger. There was something bigger than me, certainly, but something bigger that I didn't even know about. And so I think I continued to try to foster that relationship with God. And my mom introduced me to a church in our new hometown of Grass Lake, St. John's United Church of Christ. And that was a very open and welcoming church. And I just remember feeling better each and every time I went compared to how I felt going in. And there was one moment that really locked in for me, and this was about 20 years ago or so. My dad was in the throes of alcoholism. And he had just come out of a detox center, rehab, that he couldn't just quit drinking. He was at the point where if he had done that, that might have killed him.
Yeah.
So he came out, and it just so happened a timeout, and I think this is a God thing too, that one of the people who worked at the church I grew up in, our minister was traveling, and so they needed somebody to deliver a message. This is more of an informal church, so I'm not an ordained minister by any stretch, but they said, Ryan, we'd like you to speak if you're willing to do that. So I thought about it. I said, well, what better story to tell than the miracle of my dad coming out of this alcoholism and the touch of God? And my dad is, at best, an agnostic. So I went and I asked him if it would be okay if I told his story, because it's very personal. And my sister was very much against it. She said, air our family's dirty laundry in public. I'm like, well, that's not what I'm doing here. And if Dad says it's okay, well, I'm going to do it. She boycotted it. My dad said, you know what? I think that'd be a good thing, Rye. And for one of the few times I've ever seen him, he went to church that Sunday.
Wow.
And I delivered this message, and I just told the story about my dad and how proud I was of him and how much I believed in him and how much I felt God gave me that grace to extend to my father and that I could rebuild a relationship with him. And the thing that really touched me after that experience was walking out. There were a couple of different elderly gentlemen that had tears in their eyes, and they walked up to me. And they said, Ryan, the story you told is the story of me and my dad, but I never got to have that conversation. And I'm so glad that you said this here today. And that just moved me beyond words. So I would say these are the recurring things that reaffirm my faith and let me know that I'm on the right track.
Right. That's beautiful. Wow, what a testimony, Ryan.
Really?
Yeah. And PK, the same question.
Well,
how did you come to know the Lord?
Well, I'm a cradle Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I came from a big Italian and German family, and my one grandfather was a Lutheran pastor in Globeville, and I'm from Denver originally, and my mom's a big Italian family from, North Denver. So we had the Lord in our house from the time I could ever remember. And he's never left us. Then when COVID came and they shut the doors, I've always had some issues with the Catholic Church because my thing is I follow Jesus.
Right.
I don't follow church. I don't follow hierarchy. I respect what all these religions have. But the most important thing to me is I want Jesus and I follow Jesus.
Amen.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my sister, I got in one day when my niece had cancer and it came back. I said, Lord, how did you pray to your father to get these miracles? We've been praying because cancer has been in our family, and I've lost a lot of family members. And then this Jewish, I don't know if you, Rabbi Schneider, I used to listen to him.
Yeah.
I listen to everybody.
Yes, he's on our station.
Oh, wow. So he said, when I said that, all of a sudden he came on and he said, the Jews pray in praise and thanksgiving first. And I thought, that's interesting. And then he said, the color blue is the color of heaven. And I had a picture that was of the Blessed Mother as a French painting downstairs in my house. And my sister came in and she goes, when did that picture turn blue? I said, blue? I don't have blue in my house. I'm purple and, And she goes, well, it turned blue. And I thought to myself, is that a message? So I got the Bible from Rabbi Jonathan Bernis, and that's the Hebrew. And so we started doing the Hebrew with the English, and my sister and I, after COVID, started our own two or more gathered, because when the church closed the doors, you don't follow government. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's true separation of church and state. So we've been praying every day since that. We pray every morning, 1.5 to 2 hours, and we do all the Hebrew, and then we add in the communion. And we just follow Jesus, period.
Yeah, I love that. And, just it's a great conversation, too, because there are all these churches and denominations, and people who aren't believers could wonder, why are there so many denominations, But I think that probably the Lord has allowed all that just for different personality types. Some like the more formal, some are just more laid back and want to wear jeans to church. But at the center of it all is, do you know Christ? And I've always felt, and I've explained to people who aren't believers, that there's believers in every church and unbelievers in every church. Or you could say saved people or unsaved people. And only the Lord knows who is his and who's not. Of course, he hopes everybody will come to him. But just because you're in a denomination doesn't mean that you're automatically saved. And I think some people have that confusion. Oh, my parents are Christian, so I'm a Christian. It's like, no, we each individually have to come to him no matter what church we're in. And can you expound upon that? You both were shaking your head. Yes, you agreed.
Well, the way I would affirm that is that I had to do that because it's quite the opposite. I was not raised in a particular church or a particular denomination, only that my mom wanted me to be exposed to that so that I could have that in my life. I know that she was very comforted by the fact that I had been baptized. But it was very informal. So in a way, it was kind of like an adventure for me. Like I had to discover this on my own. And in that vein, I think it's even more powerfully resonant in me that it's exactly what you said, it's exactly what PK said, is a personal, individual relationship with God, and that it's mine to determine, and it's his to kind of lay that path out for me. And it's up to me to follow that charted path and to live a life that's closer to the Lord as I can get. I fall off sometimes, probably just like anybody else. But yeah, it's very powerful and meaningful to me to have that individual spirituality and relationship with God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was in high school, I went to Cherry Creek High School, and we had a history teacher, Mr. Hampshire, and I used to wear my cross, and he says, "What religion are you?" And I said, "I'm a Roman Catholic." Okay. And he said, "Do you know what that means?" And I said, "Yeah, we follow the precepts of Rome." But I don't believe religion is man-made and faith is God-given.
Right.
And God reads the heart.
Right.
And he said, "My gosh, I can't believe a 16-year-old
Yeah.
would have that." And I said, "It's because I had great parents, and they taught me that it's about your relationship with the Lord." And they would tell us all the time, "Go to God. I can't do it for you, but God can."
Right. Wow. Lovely. I love that. And yeah, 16. And that foundation of having a good family. Just before we started on air, you said you're really close, or we're close with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm close with my dad. I'm going up to the mountains with him this weekend. But to have that strong foundation. So I'm going to talk about a cultural issue right now. The family is getting attacked, wanting to tear the family in this culture apart. How do we combat that? We're all in media here. Is there a role we can play in media? Sharing the truth, of course. But what do you guys think about that issue of the culture in general in America kind of going against the family?
I think America has failed when it comes to faith. You cannot build anything unless you have a foundation of faith.
Right.
Otherwise, it's all chaos, and it ends up chaotic. But the family is so important, because if you look at how God the Father sent his Son.
Right.
And has anybody ever really sat back and thought, he sent his own Son to save us? How much does he love us?
Right.
And when you get into all these religions with all these rules and regulations, you start to wonder, he loved us. We are so important to him that I don't need all of this. I just need him.
Right.
And the family needs him. And we need to return to God, and we need the country to return to God. And I think once we do, everything will change. God will reward us,
Right. And I want to pigtail that with another question, but Ryan, how do you feel about that, what TK shared?
Yeah, and I want to kind of connect the dots on what you said about what we can do in the media. And for me, a lot changed on the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I was not close to him. We followed each other on X, but I know a lot of people who were. And I see what his testimony, and he was very open about it, talking about his relationship with God, his values, and how they are underpinned by his religion, and upon which this country was founded. And I think there are elements in our country, not trying to get too political here because that's what I do on my show, but there are elements in our country that want to tear apart those underpinnings and rebuild them in a different kind of image that is atheistic, that is secular, that insists upon the separation of church and state, which is kind of a warping of the original intent and the words of our founders, in which our rights are given to us, divined upon us by our Creator. They are not given to us by government, because anything that government can give you, government can taketh away.
Right.
And when you have God-given rights, those cannot be trespassed upon by any man, by any government. And I think there's a real danger in that, because it takes power away from a government that some in our country would prefer to have it in their hands.
Right.
When the power is in God's hands and we do his will through our Judeo-Christian work ethic, our values, our system of morals, and everything in Western civilization is based upon this. Charlie Kirk talked about it. Ben Shapiro, an Orthodox Jew, talks about it. And when we have these shared set of values, then we have a clear idea of right and wrong, of good and evil. When you take that apart, you rip that out, you're ripping out the heartbeat of this nation, and I think it's intentional.
Right.
And it's so important that we in the media, yourself, Rachel, what you do is so important. What I do, and it's more in a secular fashion, but I talk about it a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated on my program about, hey, wait a minute. We are a nation built upon faith, and that we are not the center of the universe. And that is the dynamic that I think Charlie Kirk was trying to articulate to the young people of our country. And what you've seen are Gen Zs who are going to church in record numbers higher than any generation since the World War II generation. You see Gen Z men being polled saying what's most important to them, having a family, having kids.
Right.
That's incredible to me, and it's a heartwarming thing. It's encouraging to me. And this is a threat to those who would destroy it, to those that would prefer that we be atheistic and secular. And we have to push back against that in the media.
We do. Yes. Well said. PK?
Yeah, well, that whole idea was infiltrated into the schools, into the government. The 7 hills of our society have been just infiltrated with this anti-God, there is no God, God is dead. But what they didn't realize is God is more alive than they ever
Right.
thought. And it's communism. I don't care what anybody says. Read the
Right.
Communist Manifesto. Their first rule is take God out and then just bombard them with that thought. And so since the 60s, that's been big. And now we're seeing that when you're not afraid to speak about Jesus, and that's how I've been my entire life, I don't care what people think. Because I know He is the way, the truth, and the light.
Amen. Yes. Very well said as well. There's so many directions I like to go in. I'm thinking I'll just have to have you guys back on the show. So many questions I have and topics that we can definitely just kind of brainstorm. But I would say communism or just, the culture and the educational system, the religion is secular humanism. So everybody has a religion, whether they say, oh, I'm an atheist. Well, that's a religion, because a religion is a set of belief systems and then how you govern your life or how you live your life. Every religion has morals. So the secular humanism morals, if you will, is like the Green New Deal. That's like a tenet in their religion, and then what do you do and not do in the Green New Deal, so you set up kind of like commandments. So that's the deception really is, unfortunately, they took over the school system, which now is like, okay, we're sending our kids to secular humanism. They're going to learn about secular humanism. They'll learn some math, maybe some history, but now we're going to rewrite history too. So I've always kind of pinpointed that. And even when I was going to CU Boulder, I remember talking to my mom, who has passed, and I was like, hey, the college professors are not really teaching complete truth. And I've gotten to a couple, debates. And she just thought, Rachel, she's just being, at that time she wasn't saved. She's just being, overly religious or whatever. But in my adult life, years later, she said, hun, when you used to say how the college, was teaching these things that weren't true, I just thought you were being like hyperbolic or whatever. She's like, now I see. People are starting to wake up. The Christians who are sending their kids to school, realizing, especially during COVID, man, they're teaching some stuff that they're not teaching just arithmetic here and spelling. They're teaching some crazy stuff here. So we're starting to wake up as a culture. There's a lot that I just said right there. But whatever you feel like, hey, I want to kind of pinpoint that, starting with Ryan, go for it.
Oh, absolutely. You nailed it. And I'm going to insert one more kind of piece to this puzzle, which is these kids are walking in and they have been ordained with a set of values that they've accumulated through their family experience, through their church experience, and the point and purpose of these college campuses in many ways, what you experience at CU Boulder, is to deprogram those kids, to tear them apart from their family, from their God, and reinsert what becomes their own church, their belief system, as you said, on a college campus. This could be founded in Marxist principles, as PK said. They're putting pride flags up on the walls. You won't see it be tolerated if you put a Christian flag up on a wall in a school, because you have to separate your religion from the school, separation church and state. But Rachel, you said it so well. That is their church. That is their belief system. So they can practice theirs in that church where they turn it into.
Right.
But we're supposed to basically fight with one arm tied behind our back and leave our religion at the door. It's not a level playing field.
Right.
Well, I kind of believe that some people have made government their God, and their politics are their rules.
Right.
And you're not going to, and it's like they will take, if you don't believe the way they do, it's not there.
Right.
I remember in late 1996 or 98, somewhere, I was asked to give a speech at Wheat Ridge High School, and it was in favor of their football coach. And one of your heads of your CU University was there. I'm not going to give names. And a congressman. And the first thing I said is we need to abolish the Department of Education and get rid of the NEA. And they about fell off their chairs.
Yeah.
Because they're fed by this kind of, three-letter agency, all these goofy things, the government, this huge government. It's not supposed to be that way.
Right.
There is a Father God, and he gave us rules to live by, to live with your neighbor. We don't need government telling us what to do all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You guys, both said amazing things right there. And just kind of to wrap it all up, starting with freedom of religion, because it's been talked about. Freedom of religion is not, we're going to keep you out of the government. Freedom of religion is able to practice your religion freely. So I can go into a school and I should be able to practice my religion freely by praying. And our founders were so brilliant to do that because there wasn't freedom of religion where they migrated here from. Whether it was the Catholics against the Protestants, people were getting killed for their religion. And they wanted to start at a foundation where, no, we have freedom of religion, which means then it's the same principle which God gave. He says, choose life or choose evil. He gives us free will. So the United States, on the foundation of free will, of you can choose your religion. Of course, we're going to put Christian principles because that's what we choose as the founders. We choose the Christian religion. We choose Jesus. But in order to have freedom, you have to let everybody choose. So the United States, you can choose to be a different faith. And you're not going to get persecuted for that. But of course, we want to put forth Christian, of course, values. But I think God cherishes the free will that he gives people to choose him or not to choose him. Any thoughts on that?
And you said it well. It's freedom of religion to the free exercise thereof. It's not freedom from religion.
Right. Which everybody says sometimes. From. Right. It's like, no, it's of. That's a huge word right there.
It's enormous. And like you just said, there is no reason why a child should not be able to come into a school or a college-age student go onto campus and not be proud of whatever the religion is. If it's Christianity, if it's Hindu, Buddhism, whatever. But this overtone of trying to commandeer those spaces and excise religion that they don't like out of it. And there are very specific ones that are targeted, Christianity being one, but we've seen it too with Jewish students on college campuses over this last year. Right.
And isn't that interesting that the religions that are targeted as Christian or Jew, which I would say would point to the truth of who God really is, because of course there's a battle, so you would target those. But every other religion can, in our United States can be in the school. Well, this is a great conversation. I got to wrap it up. I don't want to. But Ryan, give your info so the listeners can just check you out.
Would love that, and thank you for the opportunity here today, Rachel. Really appreciate it. You can follow me on X at Ryan Schuiling. The last name's Dutch. It's weird. I have too many vowels. If you need to buy a vowel, I have one for you. SCHUILING, and you can hear me weekdays 2 to 4 p.m. on 630 KHOW, and my program, Ryan Schuiling Live, is available on your favorite podcast platform as well.
Awesome. And PK?
Well, I have Humanity Against Tyranny hat, and Ryan is my executive producer, and he guides me, because like I said, this fell into my lap. And you can find me on
every podcast platform. Subscribe, download, listen. Humanity Against Tyranny. We record Wednesday evenings, and a new episode is posted once a week.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. An honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in to the Corner Cafe. Corner Cafe is brought to you by Crawford Media Group and Influencers TV. Influencers TV is an online course platform, and our first course is how to have your own unique radio program that will stand the test of time. So if you feel a tug on your heart to start your own radio program to expand your influence, go to influencerstv.com/radio. That's influencerstv.com/radio. See you at the cafe next week.